Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we discuss the astrological energies of June 17th until June 24th, where this week we close out Gemini season and move into Cancer energy, which signals a turning point in the seasons in our calendar year and is an important threshold into new areas of growth. Now, over this next week, we're also going to have Chiron enter Taurus on June 19th for the first time since Chiron was last in Taurus, which was late 1976 into early 1984. So depending on your journey, this may be the first time that Chiron is entering Taurus in your lifetime, or perhaps this is not your first rodeo and you were here from late 1976 to 1984 when Chiron was last moving through this area of your astrology chart. Now, we have been discussing the Chiron and Taurus themes, and this will be a time period when those energies really start to present themselves in the collective and in the individual. So you do want to stay aware of where you have 0 degrees of Taurus in your chart, as this is where Chiron is going to be hanging out from June 19th until September 17th. Essentially sitting at that 0 degree point of Taurus for 3 months and bringing your attention to the new aspects of yourself that are ready to feel stronger and more stabilized in your self-worth, self-love, and self-value. Because Chiron is hanging out here for 3 months, granted Chiron will be direct until August 3rd, which is when Chiron will then station retrograde at 0 degrees of Taurus, but never leaves 0 degrees of Taurus, highlighting that this is an important healing portal that is a focused area for all of us to become more conscious and self-aware around what we need, what supports us, and what is essential to living a good, quality, meaningful life. So I feel that starting this week, we're going to have some powerful insights into what is truly essential, what makes life good for you, what gives you energy and fortifies you, what areas of your life are now ready for more stability and simplification. And there could be some clear messages that start now into September around what you're ready to improve and level up in your life that you're also powerfully claiming. Now, the Chiron energy actually operates through revealing a vulnerability, loss, or weakness at first. And that is certainly a part of this energy where Chiron enters Taurus and it becomes evident to you what you need that you haven't had, or perhaps there is a clear understanding of what's been missing or what's been lost. And this begins that 0 point moment of what needs to now be developed and built that will be sustainable, durable, and personally important to you. So I also feel that this is a week where you might get some very clear, strong messages of what matters to you in your life and what doesn't. And this can shift your value systems, what you are investing in terms of energy, time, and effort. And you may have some very big changes in priorities where you're realizing I've been doing all this or growing that, or I thought this was the most important thing to me. And now I'm realizing that my values have changed. What I want in my life is starting to look different. And Chiron brings in what in your personal energy field needs to then be healed and loved more in order to maintain that frequency match. Because in order for you to build and develop these new parts of yourself that maybe you're giving energy to for the first time in your life. This is where you then have to be doing that internal work so that you're holding the frequency match to manifest it and make it real, especially in your life, since Chiron is in the earth sign of Taurus, which is about what we can see, hold, touch, listen to, and smell. So what do you need that is becoming such a clear message to you? And maybe there's a part of you that thought you couldn't have it. You didn't deserve it. You didn't know if you wanted it that much, right? You were like, I'm a very solid 40% around this. And then Chiron in Taurus could actually bring about a loss or development that reveals how much you actually do want something, and it can surprise you. So these are just some of the themes here of Chiron and Taurus. I have done previous episodes for you discussing this energy because it is significant here in the 2026 astrological changes. Now, as Chiron changes signs and enters Taurus on June 19th, Chiron moves from healing the Martian energies of Aries and enters into the Venusian energies of Taurus. So this is a shift from the masculine into the feminine and asking us to become more self-aware of our ability to receive, create, and harmonize our lives. And this can also play into what you're sensing is ready to change in your life, because the Taurus energies are calm, they observe, they're stable and peaceful, and perhaps you're seeking more of that in your own world at this time. And Chiron could be revealing to you how to make those necessary changes in your life that support calming your nervous system, beautifying your personal environments, and seeking greater daily peace that is needed for your overall well-being. So these are some of the bigger overarching messages to be aware of at this time. But at the same time, we've had a very active Venus in Leo. And over the course of the past week, this Venus in Leo has been through intense, important aspects with the outer planets. She had the conjunction to Jupiter. She squared Chiron at 29 degrees of Aries. She moved into Leo on June 13th, and she had a sextile to Uranus in Gemini and a trine to Neptune in Aries. And then on June 17th, she has an exact opposition to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius at 5 degrees 7 minutes. And this is an opposition that is built on passion versus detachment, desire, control, and power struggles. This is also an opposition that is revealing where you are ready to rebirth your values. Essentially, what you're realizing is essential and important for you now because of what is permanently changing, breaking, and collapsing in your life that might have been superficial. The opposition between Venus in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius is showing up as that Venus in Leo connecting to your personal needs, your heart, your desires, your creative life force, what you are passionate about, where you seek validation or recognition for who you are, as well as your overall light body. Since Venus is in Leo, Leo rules the sun, and the sun is consciousness, warmth, and growth. And all of that is being opposed by this Pluto in Aquarius that's retrograde, that is requiring greater detachment to see things for what they are. And in doing so, it brings about the need for radical change and important authenticity that maybe has been denied, rejected, or challenged outside of oneself. And so this can bring up a lot of tension, control mechanisms, power struggles, and obsessive energies, especially in the fixed signs, which are fixated on something that they want to own, possess, accumulate, or control. And we do have to address this through the shadow expressions when Pluto is involved, since Pluto is what is hidden, out of sight, and not obvious, but Pluto is extremes. Pluto is the psychological energy that is being provoked, and it's anything that is also attempting to work with the psyche. Plutonic energies are very intense and they're fueled by deep emotion. And at times, especially with Pluto, those emotions are not healthy. They aren't even fully understood. They're operating at a very primal level that can be all-consuming and greatly destabilizing. So when Pluto is opposing Venus, there is something that Pluto desires but can't have. And then that Plutonic energy can engage in more obsessive manipulative energies to try to control or claim what is desired. Now, keep in mind that this opposition is happening in your chart at 5 degrees of Leo, 5 degrees of Aquarius, and it's actually going to continue to unfold into August as we will have Jupiter enter Leo, the Sun enter Leo, Mercury will enter Leo, and then actually the end of September, Mars will enter Leo. So you're going to see over the course of the next few months a theme continuing to play out with this Plutonic opposition in Aquarius that is interacting with the planets in the early degrees of Leo. Now, as I mentioned, the Leo energy is related to the sun, light, warmth, vibrancy, but the Pluto opposition seeks to destroy, shut down, and remove that light source. And this is where the power struggle is occurring. This is where it will continue to show up for you, perhaps personally, or something you're witnessing in the collective. And so with Pluto's desire to control, there can be more extremes that are enacted in order for the Plutonic energies to dominate and basically control the situation, the narrative, or an outcome. So let me share with you something here that I think beautifully highlights dealing with obsessive manipulative energies. 4 years ago, in January 2022, I met another astrologer for under 2 hours. We spoke for under 2 hours. I only saw them one time in person, never saw them again. I've basically spent more time sitting in a car dealership negotiating a price on a vehicle than I have spent in their presence. We did exchange phone numbers and we did text back and forth sporadically, off and on for a few months. Now, in general, I am pro astrologers. I believe that we are in it together. I believe there is something that's beautifully shared amongst astrologers who are here to share their wisdom and their gifts, as well as their expertise and knowledge in this lifetime. It's a very exciting time to be doing this work. I started my platform 15 years ago, and to see it grow in this way for all astrologers is very exciting. But as we know, everything comes down to core energy and core frequency. And so as part of my professional wheelhouse, I do wish people happy birthday when it is their solar return. I do send them text messages or write social media posts to celebrate them on their solar return. And so for this individual, I sent them a happy birthday text, and I never ever heard from them ever again, ever. That's it. That's the story. Again, this was 2022. I haven't listened, heard, or watched anything they have said in years. And it helps to be highly psychic and 10 steps ahead because there are some people that you can see what they're doing. You know what their intentions are. You know the energy they embody, how they live their life, and also what they try to get away with. Now, I value my professional contacts. I value others in this field, as well as other energy workers, healers, those that I come across who I really believe in their work, and I want to maintain a connection with them. But of course, we know that all connections are a two-way street and need to be reciprocal in order to survive. And so even though I never heard from this individual again 4 years ago, it turned out that I was being obsessively watched, targeted, and stalked beyond any civilized person's comfort zone, and also every boundary of mine was violated. This person's one-sided obsession and focus on me has escalated and evolved beyond what anyone would have expected. And it reached the point where it was recommended that I hire professional protection services. So you meet someone once 4 years ago and it evolves into their one-sided obsession, requiring you to do what's necessary to keep yourself and your family safe. These obsessive energies are real. They are related to deeper emotional issues, mental issues, psychological issues in that individual. This is not a game. This is not gossip. And everyone who contributes and plays into it is an enabler and complicit, not to mention incredibly manipulated and lied to. These are all Plutonic themes. These are all themes that, yes, are extreme, but part of this opposition between the planets in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius is to bring them to light, which will make the darkness very uncomfortable, very loud, very defensive, and continue to engage in the exact same behavior that they have always used. Obsessive individuals with a history of mental and emotional issues will do anything to stay in control and to also hide their corrupt criminal behavior. Oftentimes, the Pluto energy wants to create fear as a form of control. Will try to get you into your lower emotional fear body in order to paralyze your intuition, trust, and sense of empowerment. So when you are experiencing strong Plutonic energies in whatever form they may be, whether that is something you're moving through with these transits, or it's something that you live with and you're developing throughout your life because of the energies in your natal chart, the Plutonic energies ultimately can guide you into more of your intuition, which will keep you safe, clear, high vibrational, and protected. In other words, this is an energy to use to develop your psychic abilities, clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, to go higher and deeper in your own multidimensional nature and what you're capable of. Throughout my whole life, I've been more psychic than I have ever revealed, and I have had to adapt accordingly. Now, I say that because I believe many of you are the same. You came in with very strong, powerful, multidimensional gifts that you have always used, and you've been amongst people who don't get it. And these are not your people, but they are members of humanity. They are people who have the potential to learn, grow, and become more self-aware. That is their decision. That's not yours. But the power here is in fully claiming your own gifts, and that will be something that Pluto forces you to do. Pluto forces you into your own depths and your own extremes, but Pluto is also guiding you to the untouched power that resides there. And this can even go back, because now I'm seeing this as certainly being the energy of a dungeon or parts of yourself that you had to lock away and throw away the key. Parts of yourself that you knew would not be fully understood or accepted. But this is a different lifetime, my friends. This is a different lifetime. I mean, we've been talking for years about the big astrology of right now. And part of what is turning this grand wheel of change that is happening is allowing you to reclaim parts of yourself that you know you had to abandon or reject in order to fit into whatever the energetic status quo that existed at that time. And let's be real, the bar has always been really low. The bar has always been like this baseline low frequency because there wasn't adequate support for developing into the fullness of our capabilities, our senses, and our gifts. But that's exactly what's changing. And that's exactly what We are being forced forward almost. Like you might even feel deeply uncomfortable with all of this because it's had a grip on you. And maybe it's had a grip on your fear body that you haven't fully realized was existing within you. But now is the time to work with the parts of yourself that are traveling with you and that have deep wisdom around what you need to be safe, to be strong, to be powerful, and to be in your light body. This is that time. This is that time. And you might look around in your immediate environment and be like, well, it doesn't look like it's that time because there's things outside of me that seem very baseline and low vibrational. But that's because you are the beacon, my friend. You are the initiator of this new consciousness, of this new way of being. This is one of the reasons why you're here in a human body in this lifetime. And as we move through June, July, August, September, there is an increase here in what you may feel called to do and change in yourself, which is actually tracking with the energies in the cosmos, the astrological shifts that are happening here, where you are stepping more fully into your light body, becoming even more empowered than you could have imagined across any previous lifetime. And part of what I'm seeing, by the way, as we move over the course of this next week, is that as the sun enters Cancer on June 21st at 4:25 a.m. Eastern Time, I'm seeing a multidimensional collapse in timeline pathways. Let me explain. What I mean is that there are energies that are coming in at this time that are connected to very strong frequencies, very powerful. I'm hearing light memories, neutrino influences, but light memories as in they are coming in from other timelines and meeting you here in this present reality of June 2026. They are arriving and I'm seeing them collapse together in a way that amplifies energy in the heart space, in the light body, in your self-awareness, and in the higher heart. It's like the higher heart and the upper light body are being lifted. So trust what you feel when I say that, being lifted up, because we live in a grounded physical world that can be heavily dominated by the lower three chakras: root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus chakra. The energy coming in is directly working with the heart chakra, the upper light body, and lifting us up to fortify more of the higher chakra system. And I'm seeing that as a time of very high light. And here in the Northern Hemisphere, that is what the summer solstice is about. It's a very revealing energy. It shines a lot of light that's expansive and lasts longer throughout the day so that we can see more of what has been hidden or just unavailable to us. I'm also seeing that over the course of this next week, there are going to be more frequencies that present themselves that you might start to see outlines of various energies or impressions, like a mirage of another being or another energy field that is actually revealing itself to you with these high frequencies. So do keep that in mind, and of course, trust it if that's something you are sensing and feeling. But over this next week, there's going to be more amplification of what we're meant to see, know, and believe that supports us now. And again, going back to this timeline collapse, I'm feeling like part of what's being delivered, especially through these light memories, is more of who you've been in other lifetimes, other timelines that are merging now and are basically being fortified into this present reality, the now moment that is here to support you. And it's interesting because I'm seeing these timelines occur through a wide spectrum of energies. And you might find, for example, that you are suddenly pulling in energies from very specific lifetimes that were essential to you as a soul. Because we do have certain lifetimes that are more impactful, that are more meaningful. And you might find that that is what is being magnetized in here for you with this solstice energy. You might find you're also getting memories and understandings from other realms, other dimensions, other planetary experiences that are arriving for you to essentially digest and integrate those energies into this present moment. I've been seeing some very interesting visuals around being the first civilizations on certain continents and in certain countries. And I share that because maybe that's something you resonate with, where you as a soul took a body to be one of the first humans to develop or experience the Aztec culture or an Indonesian culture, or one of the first anchors in Egypt, the very first human experiences of these civilizations. That could be something that your soul deeply resonates with. I also am getting messages from other earthly experiences, such as Atlantis, where in one of my lifetimes I was a very strong seer in Atlantis, and my partner, he was a strong scientist with a lot of medical knowledge, and we worked together to elevate and move the Atlantis experience forward. We did not blow it up, but we were in a synchronistic harmony as feminine and masculine amongst an energy that was widely out of balance. Okay, so just a few anecdotal stories here to share with you about the significance of this time period and what we're moving through here in June, July, and August. And so because of this, that also takes me back to the energy I just described of Venus opposing Pluto, where there are people and agendas who don't want evolution or greater empowerment, who don't want people to be moving ahead on their path. That's where that control energy comes in, the power struggles, the manipulation, etc., etc. But the bigger wheel of change that we're in here is supporting what you are ready to ground in and activate, because it's right on time with these cosmic changes. So this could be a time period where you find yourself zooming out to see a bigger picture of your soul's journey, your soul's themes, your soul's growth. And on that note, as the sun moves into Cancer, again on June 21st, the sun moves into the first water sign, which brings about refreshment, cleansing, growth, and even a flooding of energies. The Cancer energy supports what you're ready to blossom into and how you're ready to emotionally grow. It is a cardinal sign. It initiates the summer energies here in the northern hemisphere, the winter season in the southern hemisphere. And this is also a very beautiful time to look at what has grown for you since last year at this time. You may have new understandings of the growth you've been moving through and how you've been deeply trusting yourself even more, including your emotional messages. Now, that is a big theme since we also have had Jupiter in Cancer over the past year, highlighting more of our own personal emotional awareness, emotional intelligence, and understanding what's at the root of what I'm feeling. And that does include your own fears, limitations, and vulnerabilities. What is this really about here? And also guiding you to fill up your own cup, because a healthy Cancer energy is where you pour into yourself as you pour into others. You don't only give to others and then realize you are drained, resentful, depleted, and unhappy. Rather, the healthy Cancer energy is one of exchange, equilibrium, giving and receiving in a flowing, open way where both people or both energies can trust it. And that is also how trust is developed and built. This is also a time to assess the energy of trust in your life, which isn't only about other people that you trust. Rather, this is about how you trust yourself. Because when you trust yourself, you've got everything you need. That's where you also invite in more of your intuition to develop, where you're readily available for the psychic messages and downloads that come through. Cancer is a water sign, and all water signs are very intuitive. And so this can be a season where your intuition and emotional maturity develops and grows in a way that actually leads to greater detachment, which isn't something we normally associate with Cancer energies, but this is where you can see every person as their own energy vessel, their own energetic container. And perhaps there's things that you've been picking up or sensing that you didn't want to believe, you didn't want to trust it. But with this energy, simply allow yourself to receive what's coming in and trust how that feels for you. And I feel these themes are very important because not only do we have Sun entering Cancer on June 21st, but as soon as it does so, it's going to make a sextile to Chiron newly in Taurus at 0 degrees. So the Sun and Chiron, both at 0 degrees, are stabilizing more of your emotional body and what you feel you want to do next, of what you want to create, of what matters to you. And the Sun is going to give you the emotional strength to move forward. That is one of the gifts of the Sun in Cancer, is that it is a very powerful, resilient energy field that will move you ahead into new territory here at 0 degrees that signals an important starting point is underway. And it isn't only the starting point of the new season of the solstice, but again, we know that Chiron entering Taurus is a big deal. This is a new healing starting point that is going to be soothing, calming, and peaceful to your overall well-being, maybe in a way you've never felt before in your life. And this would be a week to stay tuned in to your emotional body and your physical body around what you need that supports you and sustains you. This is a beautiful week for energy healing of all kind, physical body work, healing practices, nervous system regulation of any and all kinds. And I'm also hearing reclaiming anything from the past that limited or impacted your self-love and self-worth. This could be quite an emotional time for some people because I'm seeing this as a portal into greater personal safety. How do you feel safe? How do you feel cared for and protected? And because many of you are leaders in your soul group, you are starseeds, you came here to be different, you stand out, you came here to perhaps feel different and even question if you're safe, if you can feel safe in this world. This is an energy that wants to support you, wants to ground you into the earth where you are stable, secure, and emotionally taken care of in a whole new way. And that's part of this threshold of moving into Cancer season, especially as it aligns with Chiron entering Taurus. So this is a week to ask for that energy, that support, that assistance, to ask your angels, guides, higher counsel, whomever you connect with, in whatever ways you connect with them, to ask for that energy to come through for you. And then part of the Chiron in Taurus and Sun in Cancer frequency is to receive, to simply receive, to receive what you need, to allow your feminine energy to be nourished and seen, as well as to feel stable and strong in who you are. And so that would be a beautiful intention to hold and work with as we move into Cancer season, as well as move into the 0 degree point field of Chiron in Taurus. It is definitely a time of year when we celebrate the solstice energies, the bright light, the highlight that is being amplified. But know that this is also the energy that is loving and supporting you at this time, which is very much needed on the planet. Now, I wanted to quickly mention that it was wonderful connecting with so many of you in Boston over the past weekend, as well as so many of you in Portland a few weeks ago. Those were some of our biggest gatherings to date of the Crystal Pyramid Experience. There are 3 more cities to come. Orlando, Florida on Saturday, this Saturday, June 20th, right before the solstice. Charlotte, North Carolina on Sunday, June 28th. And then we'll be in Seattle on Sunday, July 12th. And tickets are available still for all 3 of these upcoming experiences. So if you would like to join, it would be wonderful to meet you and see you there. But I did want to touch on some of the energies that are very active and alive in both Portland and Boston, especially since this is the energy we're actively working with when we gather here. So Portland, Oregon is a deep rewiring zone where the Earth's ancient intelligence meets the incoming cosmic frequencies very actively in order to recode and clear the energy. Now, in Portland, the Pacific Northwest, we have strong earth and water elements, and these work together in a beautiful, harmonic way that supports continuously regeneration. It's a deeply grounding area, highly sentient, and it also supports with the strong rivers, waterfalls, rain, forest, trees, lush greenery. It supports energetic detoxification, emotional release, and clearing of old timelines and imprints. This is an area of the earth that helps to clean the system, to clean the mind, the emotional well-being, and the physical body. And another theme that's strong here in Portland and in the Pacific Northwest is that it is known as a threshold space. When you think about the mist and fog and veiled landscapes, even a waterfall is a veil. And so this is an area that allows us to move between the seen and the unseen, the conscious and the subconscious, to allow for greater shadow integration, as well as psychic sensitivity and intuitive expansion. Maybe these themes resonate with you if you live in the greater Pacific Northwest or in anywhere that also holds a similar environment and landscape. Then we gathered in Boston, Massachusetts, which holds a very different frequency for the collective. It's very distinct because Boston is intellectually charged and energetically coded as a location that has timeline anchor points, because Boston is a keeper of timeline memory. Think of it. It's one of the oldest cities in the US, and it holds deep imprints of revolution, independence, intellectual awakening, and collective change, which is still very alive there. In fact, the American Revolution is significant in the area. We did a tour with my son through Lexington and where the first shots of the Revolutionary War happened. And so Boston represents where old paradigms were challenged, new identities were claimed, and collective consciousness shifted direction. Like, think about that at a global scale. To have these cities that affect the collective in such a big way is very significant. And so this was a territory that supports breaking from the past to initiate a new future. That is certainly in the collective field in Boston, in the region. And then you pull in the academics and scientific focus of Harvard University, MIT, and all the other academic institutions in the region that also make a global impact. And so it's really cool to visit each of these different cities and environments that uniquely hold something different and special. So I'm looking forward to the next cities that are coming up. And again, I hope you can join me if it aligns with your schedule as we move through 2 astrology workshops together. And I give you some new insights and understandings of your chart, plus discuss more of the cosmic energies and galactic influences that are coming in now, and that will be significant not only the rest of this decade, but into next decade. Is a big part of the collective change that we're moving through here in 2026 and beyond. As a reminder, I have done 2 previous episodes for you on Chiron and Taurus. One was back on May 11th as we discussed Chiron's transition from Aries into Taurus. And then the previous episode was just on June 8th, where I identified 10 healing archetypes with Chiron and Taurus to give you a good heads up on what areas of your life are going to be changing and shifting over the course of this transit. So as always, thank you so much for joining me for today's show. I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday for a new podcast episode, and wishing you the brightest of developments as we move through the solstice energy field and into Cancer season. We'll be discussing more about Cancer season themes, expressions, and archetypes in next week's show. Have a beautiful day ahead, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.